125 million people continue to be exposed to asbestos in the workplace.
So there's a big cost to using asbestos in dollars and lives.
Research that goes into these decisions has to be directed by independent, unconflicted scientists.
It's not something that just affects workers, it affects everyone.
Saving one life is great, but saving many more is what I hope to accomplish.
Making a profit off of people's pain and lives is wrong.
We can't quit, not as long as there are hundreds of thousands of people still to be diagnosed.
Ban the asbestos once and for all.
Hey, I'm happy to introduce session number 2. It occurred to me as I have been listening to panel number 1, I think perhaps we should nominate Linda Reinstein for 2020. I think she would be a very good addition to the Democratic roster. I would like to, before I introduce the distinguished members of our international panel, I would like to introduce very gratefully a distinguished mesothelioma warrior, Geoff Grant. We are very happy to have him here to share his experiences with us today. Geoff.
Thank you very much. First of all, my wife, Karen, is a 15-year pleural survivor. And I have to thank the late Dr. David Sugarbaker for his brave work with Karen. I am a 20-year caregiver. Karen is my second person I am caring for. And what I've learned is, I've learned many things in my journey, but the main thing I've learned is that when you try to, you have to bring creativity into the equation, because when you try to control the situation or try to fix someone, you can't do that, it never works. So I just wanted to say that. And I also wanted to say my wife's motto or her stake is, when you're creative, you feel alive. And she's a very creative person. And she's found photography. And that's how she, not copes, but that's how she gets through her days. And that's how she lives. She found photography actually in the hospital. And she was taking pictures in the rehab hospital, and she was taking pictures of hawks building a nest. And she's just a wonderful person. And as you can see here, this was in the rehab hospital. She was the youngest patient at the time, 29 years old, to have it on both lungs. Dr. Sugarbaker just couldn't believe it. She underwent numerous surgeries. At one time, she spent 114 days between the ICU and the rehab hospital, if you can believe it or not. In the first week of January 2005, she was told that she was cancer-free. And although after she was declared cancer-free, Dr. Sugarbaker and her team, they were just overwhelmed by the way she looked. And we did some traveling, and she looked fine, but she was always tired and sluggish, and she had a lot of trouble gaining weight. And I did not make many friends at Dr. Sugarbaker's office because I kept on bringing her back and say, something's not right. And what was missing was her blood gas was extremely high of carbon dioxide, and I have to thank Dr. Christopher Fanta at the Brigham for finally realizing that. And to remedy that, they put a trach back in her, and she's on a ventilator at night when she sleeps. Now all this sound, we have a hospital bed, we have a ventilator, we have medical supplies. It's a big ordeal, but this doesn't slow Karen down. This is just a speed bump. And as you know, speed bumps pass. So let me go on to the next slide here. She picked, in terms of Karen, she picked up the camera and decided to make it part of her everyday life. And I'm the logistics guy. She doesn't drive, so I drive her to, state parks and greenhouses where she can take her picture. Also, currently, we're both part of this year-long personal growth program, and which involves numerous trips out to California. And as you can see here, it involves professional photographs and videos. And so what she's done is, and what I've done, is we don't let this define us. It's so easy as a caregiver, and I know as a mesothelioma patient, having been married to one, that it's easy to fall into this trap. I'm a victim, and neither of us are a victim of our circumstance. We embrace each day, and we live our truths. And let's see what else we have here. We have some pictures that Karen has taken. She is self-taught, 100%, and she's extremely talented. Every year she publishes a calendar of her best pictures, and she just gives it away. And I said, you could sell these and make great money. She's like, no, that's not where I find my joy. I find my joy in just taking pictures and just sharing it with the world. So that's what she does. And here's some more pictures. She loves animals and she loves nature. And what I've learned is she composes a shot. And it's not just, I'm like, just grab a camera and take a picture. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to set up the lighting, and we have various discussions about this. You have to, set up the lighting and set up the shot and set up the background, and there's different f-stops and different ways of taking the picture. And to me, it doesn't make any sense, but to her, it makes perfect sense. And she gets like in this Zen state when taking a picture, and it's like she's transformed. She's transformed into another world. And just going back to the hospital, I used to distract her. And I kept on saying, every minute I distract Karen is every minute she doesn't think of her circumstance. So she's constantly, as you can see, she's constantly distracting herself. And that's what I do as a caregiver as well. And here's some other pictures. Niagara Falls, we just visited over the summer, and she loves butterflies, as you can see. And this is a little bit about my story. I felt like I was on cruise control when I was a caregiver the first time. And I had absolutely no support system whatsoever. I didn't know what a support system was. I just thought, my mother had a stroke. I'll just do what I need to do. I'll just be the logistical person. I'll just, go to the supermarket. I'll take care of her. I'll wheelchair her to Easter Seals in the morning, and I'll pick her up in the afternoon. But in reality, it was totally dysfunctional. And it was only until I was taking care of my wife that I learned something. I learned that I did not have to ride that emotional roller coaster. And I've learned emotional respect. And that emotional respect comes from me honoring my emotions and allowing my loved one, Karen, to have her emotional experience. But to follow her emotions and be sad when she's sad and be happy when she's happy, that doesn't work for anybody. Even though it may seem compassionate and sympathetic, and it just doesn't, it's not respectful. So that's what I've learned. And I've become a life coach, and I've also written a book, The Intentional Caregiver, which is on Amazon. Just going back a little bit, we married in 2001. Karen was diagnosed in 2004. I felt that lightning struck me twice. And actually, in the hospital, Karen said to me, "Jeffrey, you can walk away. I will respect you, and you've been a caregiver before. I've seen what you've been through, and I don't want you to go through it again." And I said, "Karen, don't be ridiculous. I'm sticking with you. I'm sticking this out." So so we went home, and then things sort of, was just a little dysfunctional because I didn't have a support team. And then I found life coaching through a group actually in Chestnut Hill in Massachusetts, the wellness community. And it was taught by a life coach, and they taught me that I didn't have to ride that emotional roller coaster. I could have my own emotions. And I actually found power in that. And I became a trained life coach myself. So this is my book, The Intentional Caregiver. It just came out this fall. This is me in my professional photo shoot. And the book is really about being purposeful, being intentional. And that's my message as a caregiver, and that's my message to mesothelioma patients, is to be intentional about your day, and things just go better when you do that. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you, Linda. And thank you, everybody.